This Rome Odunze storyline could have been the kind of noise that rips a young team apart in the middle of a real playoff push, but instead it is exposing exactly how different these Chicago Bears are from the chaos versions we've seen in the past. This is Bears News Fan Report. I'm talking straight to you like I would outside Soldier Field after a wild game. And tonight, I'm taking you inside what actually happened with the Odunze situation, what it says about Caleb Williams, this coaching staff, the front office, and why this moment is a pressure test that can make this team stronger instead of breaking it. I'm going to walk through the timeline, the emotion, the numbers, the locker room read, and the long-term strategy so that by the time we hit the key point, you'll see why the talk of Rome Odunze out of the Bears doesn't match reality on the field or inside Hallis Hall, and why this entire episode, if handled the way it's already trending, becomes a win for the future of this franchise. Trade deadline week is always loud. Rumors everywhere, fake graphics, people forcing trades that never had a chance. In the middle of that, the Bears dropped 47 points in a shootout win. Caleb is dealing, the offense is moving, the building is alive. Then you look at the box score and one thing jumps out. Rome Odunze, your top 10 pick and one of the key faces of this rebuild, finishes with 0 catches on 3 targets. For a player of that caliber in a game with that kind of production, it's enough to light up talk shows and timelines. On its own, it's one strange game. With the trade deadline in the background, it becomes a storyline. Then his father amplifies a post suggesting Rome should be somewhere that throws him the ball more, and now it's public, emotional, and easy to weaponize. The quick national shortcut appears. Young star wideout unhappy, family vocal, rookie franchise QB involved, big market, here comes the drama, here comes the get him out of Chicago talk. That's the script people want to recycle, but if you've actually watched this team week to week, you know that narrative doesn't hold. Odunze isn't being hidden. He's been producing, leading the team, making tough catches, winning on routes, blocking, doing all the things you expect from a serious pro. One off game doesn't erase being a central piece through the first half of the season. You watch the tape, and you see effort, detail, engagement, not a guy jogging through routes of checking out because the ball didn't find him. Then comes the most important moment. Rome speaks for himself. Calm, clear, respectful. He says his dad has his opinions, he has his own, his father speaks for himself, and Rome is locked in on his job, this locker room, this organization. No shots at coaches, no weird hints, no we'll see what happens. Just accountability and professionalism. That, for a young player under the spotlight, is huge. It tells the QB room, the staff, and the fans exactly what they needed to hear. He's not running his career through somebody else's timeline. He's not trying to burn the place down. He's here to play. Just as important is how the Bears respond. There's no public overreaction, no petty comments, no feeding the fire. The message from inside stays steady. Odunze is a big part of what we're building. We know how important he is, and everything is being handled the right way. That's how stable teams behave. You keep it football. You look at the tape, you adjust the plan, you don't let a tweet rewrite your depth chart or your identity. Now, let's talk about why the out of the Bears idea doesn't survive basic logic. You don't take Rome Odunze in the top 10, pair him with Caleb Williams, watch him emerge early as a reliable, explosive weapon, and then decide you're done with him because of a family post. Serious franchises don't move off young cornerstones for social media moments. What this really does is shine a light on something everyone inside already knows. You can't afford to let a player of his talent vanish from the game plan in big spots, not to keep him happy, but because your offense is better when he's heavily involved. Fixing that is part of growing into a contending operation. That means early touches, designed looks, making sure Caleb has progressions that feature Rome in high-leverage downs, using his full route tree and physicality in the red zone, not just asking him to occupy space. When that adjustment happens, the message is simple and powerful. We believe in our guy, we trust our pick, and we play through our best players. Inside the locker room, this week becomes a culture check. Guys see a young star handle noise without throwing teammates under the bus. They see coaches staying composed. They see no anonymous quotes, no fractures. That builds trust. It separates this era from all the versions of the Bears that let small problems turn into full-blown sagas. It tells everyone, emotions are human, family is human, but football decisions are made in here, and our core guys are with us. Before I close this out, I want you in this conversation because Bears News Fan Report is built with people who watch, think, and care. How do you see the way Rome and the team handled it? Do you want that first drive next week to send a message and get him involved early with something designed? Do you think it's enough that he addressed it like a pro and they move on naturally? Or does any outside noise still sit in the back of your mind because of everything we've already lived as a franchise? Drop your opinion down below. Tell me exactly what you expect from this offense and from the Caleb Odunze connection going forward. What kind of usage you want to see on third down, in the red zone, in those gotta-have-it moments? Because your read as a fan base that's lived all the scars, all the false starts, all the bad narratives pushed on Chicago matters here. You know the difference between real tension and manufactured drama, and this is the moment where your voice helps define which story will call out Farah. Looking ahead, my view is straightforward. The Bears need Rome Odunze fully locked in and fully featured, not as a side piece, not as a decoy, but as one of the pillars of this offense, and everything about this week actually reinforces that path instead of breaking it. His production to this point backs his role. His body language on the field backs his commitment. His response backs his maturity. The staff now has a clear opportunity to show they're in sync with the front office vision. You spent premium capital on an elite wide receiver, so you treat him like that in the plan, not just in the discourse. Caleb gets stronger when that trust and timing become automatic, when Rome is part of the rhythm and not an afterthought you remember only when the noise gets loud. The offense becomes harder to defend when 15 isn't just a name circled on the scouting report, but a constant problem you feed on different levels of the field: vertical, intermediate, underneath, motion, stacks, all of it. The organization, by keeping the tone under control and standing behind its guy instead of throwing gasoline on social media drama, shows it might finally be past the phase of panicking at the first sign of tension, past the days of turning every small issue into a headline that hangs over the locker room. So the real headline coming out of this isn't Rome Odunze is done with the Bears. The real headline is, faced with its first serious wave of noise around a young star in this new era, this team stayed upright. The player answered like a professional, the locker room didn't crack, the QB didn't flinch, and now it's on the coaches to cash in that stability, turning it into smarter, intentional game plans that keep one of their best players at the center of what they do week after week. If they do that, this episode becomes a footnote in the story of a duo and an offense learning how to win with expectations. A small chapter you remember after just to say, Alia gente mostrou que era diferente. If they don't, if usage stays inconsistent and they let narratives build for free, the questions will come back louder and mais difícil de controlar. But right now, based on what we know and what we've seen, this feels much more like proof of growth than a sign of collapse, a test passed and not alerta de incêndio. Let me know in the comments if you agree, what changes you want to see in how they feature Rome, how fast you want to see that connection with Caleb evolve, and whether this week made you more confident or more cautious about where this Bears offense is heading. And if you want fast, serious, straight-to-you coverage of every move, every rumor, and every real storyline around our Chicago Bears, make sure you're subscribed to Bears News Fan Report, hit that notification bell, stay with me, and share this with every Bears fan who saw the noise and deserves the full picture instead of another lazy headline.